Who is spreading this misinformation? Who's behind these accounts?
Well, there's two parts to that answer, right? So the first thing is, who are these new elite breaking news accounts where a lot of people on X are getting their news around the Israel and Hamas war? So these accounts are pretty new accounts, and they're run not from news organizations, but from really political disinformers, people whose job it is to disinform about politics and things that are going on. They are sort of weird. We have some men's rights activists, and these are people who are misogynists, and they spent a lot of their time before this war promoting Andrew Tate, the misogynist influencer. And then there's another right-wing PR guy from Poland. It's really this hodgepodge of people who are utilizing what Musk has built Twitter, or X, into now. And they're utilizing, just as it's incentivized on the platform, to give you fast, sometimes violent, often wrong information. And the second part of that answer is, who's behind this? Musk is behind this. Musk has built up a new X, the old Twitter, that used to be missioned on trying to give you reliable information, even though it was coming fast. People there really used to care about it. And Musk now does not like traditional media. He is against the news in general. And these are the people that he thinks are the future of news. So that's what we're getting.
And Brandy, I think if you are, as I am, as you are a user of the platform, that feels apparent in the user experience. But explain to me, both for someone who doesn't understand sort of the background working of this, and for someone who doesn't use the platform, how Musk's specific changes to the site have contributed to this problem that you're discussing.
Yeah, so we used to have a lot of systems in place. Twitter used to spend a lot of time and a lot of energy and employ a lot of people whose jobs it was, especially in breaking news situations, to keep the platform as reliable as possible. And you can imagine why this is really important on voting day, or why it's really important when there is a hurricane coming to your area. You need reliable information, and you need it quickly. And the big indicator of that reliability used to come with a check mark, and that used to mean verified. So whether you were the Department of Sanitation in New York, or the President of the United States, or a journalist, you had a blue check mark, meaning that Twitter vetted you, knew that you were who you were. And that was helpful in times of crisis. It was helpful in crisis situations and breaking news situations. Now that check has been stripped as a sign of reliability. And what he's done is given everybody who gives $8 to subscribe to Twitter, their subscription service, now they get that check mark. So what we had the other day, for example, was we had a person with a blue check mark saying, I am a reporter from Al Jazeera and I'm on the ground. And then they were spreading things that just weren't true. But they had a blue check mark, and that tweet went wild. It went viral, and people were really believing that this was from a person on the ground. You can imagine the kind of propaganda and lies and misinformation that can come when you don't know who is behind an account. And so I think that's the biggest indicator of what he's done to the site. But there are others too. We used to have a trending bar that was curated by professionals, many of them who used to be in news, who would make sure that people were seeing sort of up-to-date information that was pertinent to the moment. That's gone. And what's replaced that curation, I think it's really funny. Musk talks all the time about this is free speech. But it's not free speech. It's not like everything's just being put out there and we can decide. The accounts that we're talking about have been promoted, replied to, interacted with, and in some cases outright, Elon Musk told his 160 million followers, follow these accounts because this is the best news that you're going to get. We're still getting a curated experience. We're just getting that curation from Elon Musk.
I've got about 30 seconds left, Brandy. Your advice to someone who still wants to utilize this platform but doesn't want to get sucked into misinformation?
I would say to not be on the platform. And I'm hardly on it anymore unless I have to be for work. And if you have to be for some reason, then I would create one of the last good things they have is the ability to create lists. And I would create a list of all of the journalists and the outlets that you know and trust. And I would only look at the curated list that I curated myself. And that's the one thing that you can do to fight back against Musk's curation is curate your own.